Hey guys, it's Larry. I'm up here at the corner of Idaho, Washington, and British Columbia. That's my boat out there, fishing on the Columbia River. Got into some really big trout. My biggest, well, not my biggest trout on a fly, but biggest in a long time. Biggest rainbow, no, it's not my biggest. We got some good trout though. I haven't had a shower for a day or two, but the setting is just unbelievable. Hey, let's jump into these different wells. I've got different questions and I don't have them all written down. I'm just kind of chilling out here. But I want to, kind of get you guys in line with what I think and what I know. And there's some things I think that I'm going to allude to, but I don't view myself as a prophet. I view myself as prophetic. I study a prophet and I have more and more confidence that what Kim Clement said is true. And you may just this morning released the Joe Kent interview, and it was so shocking. I'm sitting there just talking to him, and Joe is a God-fearing man. I don't know where he's at on the whole continuum. He's not a Sunday school teacher or a church elder or anything, but he's a God-fearing man. Be a fantastic representative for my, congressional district. And I hope that you can find people like him that you can support. But it was so shocking. He knows Trump personally. He's had numerous meetings. He's in communication with his background in CIA intelligence, and just having worked his way up through the military, he's sitting there talking about how the landscape is changing in the Republican and the Democratic parties, and he goes, Trump has created this split in the Republican Party, and Kim Clement had prophesied that there's going to be a third party, and I just couldn't imagine it would be the good guys. I'm not sure the Republicans are the good guys. I thought that was shocking. He said it. So you may have noticed that during that interview I did say, hey, I study a guy who gives prophetic advice, and it's becoming more and more relevant in mainstream culture, what Kim Clement said. This is the Columbia River behind me. I don't know if I said that. So let's go through the 8 wells, and I'm going to reference some of the other videos that I've made with other people. I'm super happy with some of the people I get to do, and it's really crazy. I can't wait to see some of you guys just doing what I'm doing. I mean, I just feel like a little 8-year-old, chubby little guy trying to run along with all these other people who are doing great things, but I'm pulling people aside, giving them a voice, some who don't, and then some people have a big voice like Joe Kent. I can't believe he comes alongside, lets me interview him, and I learned that I don't do it nearly as well as I wish I could, but that's the way it goes. You just got to begin to go. I see friends who start outreach efforts, whether it's media, whether it's YouTube or whatever, you just have to get past yourself. You're not going to look good all the time. I mean, I don't look good right now. Holy smokers. But I'm working. I think I'm looking better. I'm super happy with my carnivore diet. The first one that I think is going to happen, and I've said, and it was crazy that I did it, but I said it's going to happen in July. I said something is going to happen in July, and I said I think it's going to be the dinar. And then I end up getting to do an interview the next day with Heather, who I just did a follow-up interview. But Heather really provided details that were shocking to me and so encouraging, and it really changes my view. Now there's the patriot community, and then I'm more an adherent of the prophetic community, but I don't think they necessarily, it's like God and science. Neither one of those are science, but, well, let's just put it this way. The prophetic community doesn't have anything to worry about compared to the patriot community with all the crazy things that those patriot people occasionally believe. And I think it's very interesting to look at both, because the Bible says we prophesy in part and we know in part. And, I'm not the one that's done the prophesying that Kim has done, but as I read what he says, I learn things and I see things, and I really do believe that the dinar is going to go first. I think it's going to come during a time of tremendous troubles. I think it's going to come after Japan has issues, after the euro gets a haircut in their bond market, and they don't have Wall Street, they have the City of London, but when their financial troubles come shortly after, it's going to come to us. And then I believe our country, as Donald Trump mentions in an interview with Laura Ingraham, our country acquired pallet loads and pallet loads. In fact, some of the subscribers of our channel have talked to me, and they were military personnel, and they told me they saw these pallets of dinar, just like Obama sent pallets of dollars you may have seen in funny videos, or not funny, but this guy saw pallets of dinar going back to the United States. Trump said that the United States has $35 billion worth, and I think that was back in the day. So I don't know how many trillion of dinar that's going to revalue at, but I'm understanding that that's going to happen sooner rather than later, and I think that there's going to be big benefits when that does. And that's talked about in the movie videos that I've released called The Dinar Dream. That was with Heather. And then there's also Dinar Details, where I talk about brokers. And some of you got all wound up and feel bad about buying stuff through brokers. Don't feel bad about buying dinar through brokers. And others have said, well, how do you know if it's real? And if you don't know what it looks like or what it's like, then it is a very odd question. But the thing is, I don't think it would be counterfeited generally, although I have bought a Zimbabwe Zim that was a big one that was fake, and I got it for too good of a deal. And I didn't buy it from a quote reputable dealer, I just bought a good deal. And so I would really encourage you to use reputable dealers however you get it. The thing that Kim Clement cautioned against with the dinar, and this is a repeated question I get all the time, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to turn it in? I've had dreams where you just go into a bank. Like, I don't know which bank will still be standing. I think, I've heard prophetic things against Bank of America, and I wonder about Citibank. But those are the kind of banks, these big, I wonder if most banks will be gone. Because the reason I think that, Kim doesn't exactly say it, but you guys, we're in the middle. It's only been during my lifetime. In fact, I remember, well, I guess I don't remember 1964. I was born in 1963. In 1964, we shifted off of the silver thing, and then the petrodollar was initiated when I do remember that, early 70s. And so really for 50 years, the petrodollar has been, if you look at it, you could make the argument it was a commodity-backed currency, but now it no longer is. And many people are just thinking, oh, no big deal, ain't no thing but a chicken wing. It's like, oh no, the wheels are coming off the bus. It's just, I don't know how they can hide it, but it's going to happen. And what I believe is going to happen is we're not only going to have a currency crisis, we're going to have we're going to have a whole banking shift. And I think I'm understanding more and more how God, I remember Robin Bullock, who I like. I mean, he's not the easiest guy you have to listen for a long time to get the meat of it. Maybe that's what you say about me too. But he talked about how God doesn't like the systems of this world, and I think that God doesn't like the banking system, and I think it drove people down with debt, and it oppresses them, and I think that God is sick of it. And I think that the banks don't want to not make the money. I mean, I'm a business guy that collects about, I don't know, about $80,000 to $90,000 a month in rents on Visa cards, and so I'm paying nearly 3% of that. So that's $2,700, $2,400 to $2,700 a month. So that's $30,000 a year that is going to banks, when I think in the future we're going to go to the next generation of money. And what do you think that is? I think it's going to be on the phone. Kim Clement even kind of insinuates that. And so I think we're going to go to digital money, and I think that it's going to be, crypto's got a weird, that means death, and so sometimes we're going to go to digital money, digital assets. I don't want digital money in the fact that the government can control. I'm talking about we may trade XLM or XRP or Shiba Inu, whatever it is, Doge, because I think what Musk gets behind is going to work. But those things are going to become money, and they'll be like infinitesimal percentages of a penny per transaction, and so it won't really matter. But anybody would admit that $30,000 a year that I'm paying for credit cards, I like to get the money, so it's worth it to me, but that's going to change. And then borrowing money, if you believe the Bible talks about we're called to be the head and not the tail. So I think lending is going to change. Right now, does anybody lend anybody money? No, people don't do that. Christians don't do that. Jewish people do. I think Jewish people have it down, and I'm not saying they're always so elegant with the way that they execute it, but they have a fine understanding of the nuances of money, and I hope that we do. And I think that we will be able to, on the other side of this wealth transfer, lend people money. So I see banking changing, going to digital assets where we are the banks, and we need to develop our sophistication. And so I think that kind of stuff's happening. I think people on the other side of the dinar, but I'm talking about how our currency is on fire and it's going to blow up, and you're going to see the Chris Reed dream of the $50 bill ripped a third of it off. I think that's just weeks away. I don't think that's going to be the middle of August before that happens. It's going to happen. And when it does, you're going to experience, since the rest of the world isn't using the petrodollar anymore, they don't want it, and they're going to run after gold-backed bricks or as other things come available. And there's all these trillions of dollars that are overseas that people don't really want anymore, and they're going to come back home. And so maybe in our, I don't know, I think it's called the M3 count, but maybe right now in America there's $2 trillion, but I think there's 3 times more money overseas than there is here. So what if we just double the amount of money, but we provide the same amount of goods? What do you think is going to happen to prices? We're going to have rampant inflation. And so it's important to know that. And so that's the thing, as the dinar or these different investments, people go, what do we do? What do we do? What bank do we use? You don't use banks. Banks are going to, I think they're going to do bail-ins. I mean, you want to get out of the fiat money system, and so you do digital assets. Cash is not a bad thing. If you don't have a whole bunch in the bank, then just keep more cash, because I think once the banks close down, I think the ATMs are going to be out of cash, and that's a way to control people. I think that's probably part of the plot or whatever, but you will be able to buy things with cash, and then you can buy things with silver or whatever. Let's get on. So I have 2 good videos on the dinar detail. I can't remember the whole thing, but it is about a month ago, and then the dinar dream was probably 3 weeks ago. Let's get on to precious metals. Silver has continued to fight back. It's really interesting. I think if they push it up, and I don't know how they're pushing it up, but I think you're going to see the COMEX fail. That's the price setting network, which is so poorly designed now that I've been watching more and more videos. And I would encourage you to watch videos with SD Bullion and other people to understand that they have a price setting mechanism. I mean, the percentage of silver that they're trading every day to manipulate the price of silver is like they're trading every day more silver than is mined in a whole year. And so if that's happening, how can that be? 3/4 of the annual silver production is leveraged in derivatives, and just a huge number of times. And yet, in oil, they leverage like a half day, and there's reasons to hedge things, but it's just so illegitimate, what's going on in our commodity market, our precious metals market. And if you don't have a lot of resources, I don't know that precious metals are for you yet. I think that I would probably lean towards digital assets, and if you've got faith for the dinar, and if you don't, that's fine. We're going to find out what happens. But I've allocated a small percentage, not even a percent, of my wealth transfer investments towards the dinar, but I think it's going to provide tremendous return in liquidity, and I'm very comfortable with where I'm at. I'm not buying all I can. I want to have, and I think that precious metals, or if you have extra and you don't want to have a bunch of money in the bank, you need to figure out how to do it, then how to keep it safe, where you're going to keep it. You can use off-site people if you trust them. Let's get on to XRP. Some of you don't have any XRP yet, especially people my age, well over, let's just say over 50. I'm over 60. Really rare for people over 60 to have XRP. The reason you need to have some is you need to go through the process of getting in a what do they call it? It's not a ledger. I hold my XRP on a ledger, on an exchange. So I like the one called Uphold. It's in the UK, and I think it's really legit. And people who I respect have prayed and said, yeah, I think Uphold will not take advantage. I think other ones are taking advantage. I'd recommend Marcus. He puts out a lot of stuff on Walk This Way about the integrity of exchanges. There are limitations if you're highly sophisticated. I'm not trying to swing trade or all those things like other people do. I'm just buying and holding and waiting for it to go up. I don't leverage them. I don't, I expect huge volatility. So, but you need to go through XRP, because let's just make this analogy. Right now, you need to get on a valid exchange, because right now the number of days it takes to get certified, you can do up to $500, which is not that much. I mean, hopefully many of you have access to more than 500, but that's where you're at. That's where you're at. Then. But you need to do it even if you only start with $50, because someday you're going to want to do it. But what people don't realize who haven't done it is it takes about 8 days to get certified. That means that you can do your second transaction, or that you can pull your money out. You got to get certified, so that you got to give your ID and take all these pictures, and people get freaked out. They decide not to do it. Why, Larry, do we need to do that? Well, you need to do it so that if and when you ever realize that your fiat money is on fire, you can go buy some things digitally, because you're not going to be able to buy commodities, precious metals at that point, and so that's one of your last hopes. And if it's 8 days now to do it, what if 100 times as many people started jumping in? I don't doubt that it will take a month to get on an exchange, because it's not like those exchanges are going to be able to, increase their capacity 100 times. Why does it take 8 days right now? I don't know. But, I don't think they can do 100 times more customers or 1,000 times more customers in the same number of days. And if those trillions of American dollars come back home and your money is on fire and you lose 50% of it just because you were too lazy to get on an exchange, I think maybe you kind of deserve some financial pain and regret. So I just want you to do it. If you don't believe it a whole bunch, then don't put a whole bunch in. But whether you do 20, 50, 100, 500, then you're in. And then you can do 10,000 or 100,000 if you have access to that kind of money. But you can't do 100,000 out of the hole. You've got to be in the exchange. And then, I have Tracer wallets, and I have more than one, because I have a lot of digital assets. And I don't want to put it all in one basket, even though it might be the same similar things. Am I diversifying a whole bunch of different ways? No, I'm not. I mean, I've only got 4 or 5. Kim, that I'm aware of, only talks about one asset, and that's XRP. And you can read about that in my book. And let's get on to the next one. Had a very interesting conversation. I called Brixton Metals, called them a few times. I really want to get an interview, but it's really hard. It's kind of funny. I mean, my influence in the wealth transfer community is growing, and I'm excited. And around my town or my part of Washington, I mean, I know people and they know me, but I call Brixton Metals, they don't know me, and they go, well, who are you? Well, I'm a guy that does a YouTube channel for a bunch of people that are going to be really rich. And well, where's that financial information come from? Well, it's a prophetic guy. Well, where is he? I'd like to, well, he's dead. So when I go through that story, then I realize we are a unique group. That's why um, that's why maybe not even, in my opinion or in my observation, not even 1% of the people at church really believe in the wealth transfer. But I don't try to talk people into it that don't have a natural curiosity. But I have a big curiosity, and so I kind of got blown off by the the media relations guy at Brixton. So I didn't quit. I kept going back to him. Now, I haven't got an interview with the CEO yet, but I did interview him, and I wish I would have been recording it. But he had no idea there was a prophetic destiny for their company. I'm not sure if the president knows it, but this guy's just recently started working there. He actually is tolerant of prophecy, but he's not comfortable putting his job on the line, telling the CEO that, hey, there's this guy named Larry that lives in Washington and he wants to interview you because there's a lot of people who are going to get rich and they want to know about bricks and metals. So I say all that. I'm actually, closer to bricks and metals, and I see geological things when we were up at the Canadian border that reminded me of what I saw of the Thorn project of bricks and metals. And I was talking to them about how it's going. They're very encouraged. They got a huge Australian company. I think it's actually the richest family in Australia. Have started a company that's publicly traded. I think it's called BHP, if I remember right. Huge mining, or iron ore, all kinds of mining stuff in Australia. And they've joined and they've bought in a third of Bricks and Metals. So now Bricks and Metals is investing $12.5 million this year, 14 million last year into drilling. And the guy told me, he goes, we are really hitting, we've got solid we've got solid silver and gold exploration, but he goes, we are hitting extremely rich copper. Well, if you've been paying attention to the markets, copper is like right on the verge of a short squeeze. And I think, many prophetic voices have said copper is going to go crazy. So, and what was interesting when I talked to him, he said the president, who has been the visionary, that I guess they bought this claim, from what I'm understanding, and I don't know everything about Brixton Metals for sure, but it looks like there's been a number of failed attempts since the 50s to get this thing off the ground. But these guys are going for it. I think their timing is perfect. And I believe it's going to happen at least in 2025. It'll be really going. But it was really interesting. This is going to be a buy and hold thing, because he kept talking about their philosophy of generational wealth. I mean, it's like, and he talked about, they're not investing for the next 2 years. They're not investing for the next 5 years. It's for the next 4 decades. They make investments, and they partner with people who have that idea. So I'm going to just risk saying this. I've kind of thought, for those of you who have kids, let me tell you, I think one of the smartest ways to invest into your kids' college, and this is what we've done. We didn't buy college investment, in very many college investments. We did buy a few through a stockbroker, and actually they did very well. We did some oil stocks a number of years ago, but it was a very frustrating experience the way the stockbroker did it. He wouldn't allow me to buy the one that he thought was the best. He goes, you've got to diversify. I go, I don't need to diversify. I'm diversified in real estate. He goes, no, I can't do it with you. And he goes, I'm not even going to work with you if you make me do something that'll cause me to lose my business. And I was frustrated. And then, exactly like I thought, the thing that he was most excited about made more than twice as much as the things he made me diversify into, but they still did really well. So anyway, we bought oil stocks for our kids, but mostly we invested in our businesses, our rental businesses, and they just grew. And then we just attributed some of the rents. We didn't give the kids money per se. We just paid a percentage of their college bill, depending on what they did, how hard they worked. And one of our kids went to a quote affordable college, and we paid all the difference. And yet we didn't lose assets other than those stocks that we bought them. And so what I'm telling you is, attribute money if you have faith in the wealth transfer and into this well. Attribute money, and in your mind say, instead of paying into a 529 or whatever the college plan is, I would say for part of it, buy this, because I think BBB is going to be paying for decades. It's not one of those buy and flip things. It's going to be, that's what I'm getting. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I'm doing. And so I have a significant investment, thousands and thousands of dollars into Brixton, and I, once the other side of the dinar, I'm going to have way more. One thing about Brixton, I will tell you, there's not that many stocks for sale, so you don't want to do uh, a a non-limit order purchase, because you may go right past 9 cents, 12 cents, 18 cents, 50 cents. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, you need to understand what I'm saying and have somebody explain it to you, because you can make bad choices on, if you don't do a limit order and say, hey, it's currently at 9 cents, I'll pay up to 9.25 cents for Brixton Metals, and otherwise some guy might get lucky. He might have offered 1,000 shares at $2, and you end up, filling in at $2 when it should only be 9 cents. Okay, I think that's most of what we've got. The Big E is going to come in available, in my opinion, in 2025. It's going to become known. I think the stock market could be really upside down at that point. And it seems to be the connotation that it's going to be shocking news that the stock market's coming back online. That's going to be the time to invest in the Big E. And the Big E is somehow it's salt water. There's 5 different kinds of Big E. There's some of it's like related to mammals and like sea mammals and whales and dolphins. Heather had this dream about bees, and she thinks it's Big E, and she thought it was different than what I might have thought, because I read in this, as you probably saw, about cars that are going to be able to rise, levitating cars. And so, but also there's going to be an enormous earthquake, probably in California, that is going to open up a fissure, and there's going to be new elements revealed that will be new sources of energy. I was talking to this guy flying out of the Seattle of the South, Huntsville, to an aeronautical engineer, and we started talking. I think I mentioned this earlier about why are all these billionaires building rockets? Like, that's really weird. I mean, why doesn't NASA just do it? And I'm less and less impressed with NASA the more that I understand things. I mean, they're very impressed with themselves. I just don't know how legit they are. But I do think these other billionaires have got assets, rockets. And what I'm realizing is Kim Clement prophesied that we're going to do space mining to bring back elements that are going to be related to the Big E. And that's what those guys, I think, already know. That's why Richard Branson with Virgin and Jeff Bezos. But I think, once again, Elon Musk is the man. And I think he's, with SpaceX, is going to do the best. So those are opportunities. So I hope that you're encouraged. I think that it's not just investing in the wealth transfer. It's understanding that God is not satisfied with the systems of this world. They're evil. There's evil people who have created, this burden of debt, this influence of socialism, the secular humanism that's pushed so rampantly. And God is going to fund us in order to take back culture and, make a difference in the future. And so I hope that you're excited about that. I hope that you're passionately running after God. I'm going to say one more thing. One of the giants that Kim Clement talks about time and time again is the giant of debt. And so people ask about the RV, and they go, we just assume the RV is at one time. And I've always thought that, because that's the simplest thing. And usually, and I don't know why, how am I supposed to even have an opinion? Because it's only these, truthers and, the crazy YouTubers. You can't trust those guys. Well, hopefully you can, some of them. But I mean, there's things I know, and there's most of these things I believe. And And can I prove it? I don't know. I can prove to you that Kim Clement believes that debt is going to be destroyed. Now, I don't think that means personal debt, like if I loan you $50 or you loan me $100, we got to pay that back. But if on the houses and car loans, maybe those, I think pretty convinced those will probably go away. But I don't think those are, it's not all going to happen with a bang. Like I've said, and you probably have heard me say, I believe the wealth transfer is going to last more than 2 years. I don't think the debt bomb is going to be dealt with in the first year. I think that's the second year. I think in a year from now, from the middle of July, I think that the debt bomb will be dealt with. I think that's when the most of the other currencies are going to RV. Like that's kind of related to Heidi's statement that she was picking up pennies and dimes. So somebody just asked me about, well, the Vietnamese dong, which I have a whole bunch of. And I'm going to buy a whole bunch more of if the dinar goes first, and I believe it will. But that's what I think is going on. So I think, I don't think God's plan, you know, if all these crazy Christians and patriots, and I'm a crazy Christian, if they all get all the money right at the beginning, the evil guys are going to get money too, and then they're not going to flounder and they're not going to lose. I mean, you lose money and then you eventually lose assets, and that's going to be the big deal. And I really am confident that we're going to see a very difficult late 2024, very difficult early 2025, and I don't think we're going to start rounding the corner until the debt bomb is destroyed and the RV of all the currencies. I think that's when the new American dollar will come back. It won't be a Federal Reserve. No, it's Patriot stuff. That's not Kim Clement exactly, but that's what I see. So I think that the later in 2025 you go until the RV and the debt bomb is dealt with, that is going to be the perfect time to invest in real estate. And so that's my 2 bits there. I have some Kim Clement observations that I'm writing about, and that's what I'm trying to do. The reason I did this video today, it's pretty ad hoc, is because my iPad was not charged. But what a beautiful day. I just, looking back there, it's just so amazing. So it's really fun to talk to you guys. I hope I answer questions. Please, comment, like, subscribe if you haven't, and fill in some of these questions and ask more questions. The cruise is coming together, people. I'm sensing more and more excitement. The other channel leaders are giving nods, but we all want to wait until the wealth transfer begins. But I don't mind, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll take it on the chin. I'll probably get in the molly grubs again for a couple weeks like last time. But I see this coming together. So I get to be with Marcus in 2 weeks, and I'm excited about that on his channel, and I hope to get him on mine. That's Walk This Way, I think it's what it's called. So you guys have a great week, and if you have further questions, please ask them in the comments. Thank you so much.